Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. We're glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up. But first, let's take a look at our weather, brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning. Drew Pollard and hard-working crew taking care of our everyday comfort needs. High today is getting all the way up to 67, and low is going to be 46. Sounds like about a November forecast on it. The water temperature is right at 75 degrees, 75.4, so it's pretty steady. It dropped 1 degree. Let's take a look at our river readings brought to us by Mountain Dew. Get out and do. The Apalachicola at Bluntstown, an even 3 foot. Got a little bit of a drop to it. And the Choctawhatchee at Carabelle, again, it looks like it's underground. We're looking at a 1.3 on the Choctawhatchee. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Here we are at a tide today. It's going to be 5:51 to be the low. I'm sorry, it's high tide, but then it's going to be low at 3:45 this afternoon. We'll have that northwest wind at 9. It's been blowing out of north for a little bit of time, so the low tide is like the winter low tides today. It's going to be blowing on out of the northern end of our bay system throughout the Panhandle. We talk about that a lot. But the crabbing, I saw where the guy who gets the crabs, he's a commercial crab guy. He's been getting them for years out in front of our house and different places. And he's still running strong, pretty steady, but and I see some in his trap. So the crabs are somewhat still out there if you want to brave this kind of weather. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's get caught up on some of our pictures. We really enjoyed having Billy on yesterday. He had some really good pictures coming up there in Jackson County. So let's pick up some of ours that we've collected the last day or two. Last weekend down in Carabelle was a good snapper day. I know it's bumpy. In fact, here's Mark McCraney. It was a bumpy day on the salt pond. The old Parker handles it better than we do. I understand. The Parker, of course, the name of the boat, is a strong boat. The catching was great, as was the company. TJ, thanks for running the boat and holding us on the fish. And you can see they had a good day. But it was bumpy out there over last Saturday. A lot of folks went. All right, let's see. I got a couple. Dennis Brandon sent this to me. You know it's fall in Florida when the license plate colors begin to change. We don't have leaves changing here. We have license plates changing. And is that not true? We're getting a lot of our snowbirds coming in and getting ready to enjoy a winter. They're going to be surprised this morning. All right. I know a lot of y'all like trees and all. And Billy Grantham brought this up yesterday. How much we love trees. I just ran across this up in Cedar Falls. I just ran across this one to share to you. The story behind it, the guy started a project. He planted 4 trees and grafted them together over the sidewalk. And the skinny one there, that tree had died. He replanted another tree and it's still grafted on it. So this is many years later, and he didn't live this long to see it and all, but isn't that a cool multi-trunk tree? A lot of times we get carried away with just a one-trunk tree, but these multi-trunks are. Okay, here's a picture I took. I was down at Gulf Coast yesterday morning, and it was storming. It was real blowing. You know, it wasn't storming, but just that real strong wind. I just want to show you the boat ramp is in good shape. There were a couple of folks out, but I wanted to show you the grass. This is looking back toward the Hathaway Bridge. See all the grass blowing up? That's from, you got that north wind coming all the way down the bay, and that loose grass, the dead grass, is sort of gathered up. Now it's going to be washed ashore there, and it'll decompose there. It's just nature doing its own thing. That's my shadow there. Let's see, and here we go. Here's some of it right here into the rocks at all. That's just a normal occurrence every year as the grass dies off and regrows back in the spring. Wendy sent this to me. This is her principal. My principal on her Texas hunt yesterday. She got one on the last day of their hunt. They had fall break last week, and Wendy's principal is named Kendra Johns. Isn't that a great picture? I love it because here she is, a pretty young lady, got a big old buck, and then look back there in the background, you see the stand she was in shooting down that alley. And she and her husband, that's Kendra Johns, her husband is Jake. Let's see, here's Jake right here. He's a cattle farmer up there in Tupelo, outside of Tupelo. They got a nice cattle farm, and that made a happy trip for them. So I know they're gonna get to watch this up there in Tupelo. Good buck, fine buck. Let's jump back down here to Port St. Joe. Here's Bobby Coble. I was telling me about St. Joe Shrimp Company the other day about all the good food. And Bobby's the one in there. You see Bobby running there telling me you saw him on Panhandle Outdoors with a big old redfish. I told him congratulations. He sent this back to me. He said, Winston Chester, Mama got a triple tail this evening. So they had a good day of fishing, some redfish and triple tail. Good job, Bobby. Jumping back here, Randy Beavis again. Randy JR Barbecue got him another wild. He's gotten about the last couple of weeks, he's gotten several big old. This one's not as big as the other one got, but actually this meat on this hog will be better because it's a younger boar. Good job, Randy. Randy's a good hunter, loves to hunt. John Van, he over the weekend, over the last couple of days, he spent a day on the water with his wife and caught a few reds. Redfish, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow in the fishing report. It's been really good this week. Maybe you recognize her. She's been on the show. This is Nicole Bassford. This is Travis's wife. Remember when they came on the show? She won the 2022 Operation Drywater Officer of the Year. Congratulations, Nicole. We got to get her back on the show if she can get permission from everyone. From about 25 people have to approve it, I guess. But anyway, I'm so proud of you, Nicole. And I know Travis is proud of you too, the whole family. Dylan Shingler, it was cold. Dylan's a captain, Dad's a captain. He caught and released many today. And he had a little video of them swimming back. He's fishing off the dock, really. He didn't go out. But I'm telling you, redfish was really good in this cold break right here. Good job, Dylan Shingler. A couple more. Michael Harris sent this to me. You won't see this very often. Don't you love these game cameras? Okay. That's two nice ones right there. Nice fox and deer together. Good job, Michael. And I know turkey season coming up, just for jokes. You carve it, with prices so high with gas and groceries, get your can of Spam and just carve it really careful, a little turkey. Okay. We talked about that event the other day about having lead in the walleye. These are some of the jokes that went around the internet with recent events. Instead of having fish tacos, it's going to be some lead in the tacos. So you'll know that. Real quick, the dates again, I like to just go over them this time of year because it can be confusing. This is duck right up here. We got about a month before it opens again, right at a month. November 19th it'll open. And then right down here, dove in 3 weeks, November 12th, bottom right there. Okay? All right, that's some good stuff there. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Glad you're with us this morning. Hope you're staying warm. I imagine some of y'all might have got a fire going. They told us yesterday that it was colder here in Panama City than it was in Boston, Massachusetts. So that's a good day to sit around and read. And I got to think about last night how much I used to enjoy reading about the outdoors. As a kid growing up, the go-to outdoor magazine was Field and Stream. And I would read, as a kid, I would read it from cover to cover. I would look at all the pictures and I'd go back through it and read it again. And Dad made sure we had a Field and Stream along with a Tallahassee Democrat to read in our house. And then after Field and Stream, the Florida Sportsman, we sort of started reading it, and then about the same time, Woods and Water came out. But the Florida Sportsman was, and I used that a lot in my outdoor ed classes, reading stuff and sharing stuff with kids and all. But we still get outdoor magazines. In fact, I still get 4 or 5 a month. I get Buckmasters. I love Buckmasters. I get Ducks Unlimited. I get what they call Tide. That's a coastal conservation, and then Garden and Gun. Okay, it was sort of like the combination of the Southern living and interesting. But I got to think about it. I don't read them as much as I used to because I have so much on the internet. But there's some really good stuff in it. So I was looking at them, and I'm just going to show you a couple of articles. I'm not going to read the articles, but I took some notes right here on some good articles in each magazine that tell you they're still on this one on Buckmasters. This is interesting. The stories are good. It's well written story. They talk about now how to, we call it armchair scouting. With all the technology we have now, you don't have to, back in our day, we could get one thing, a topographic map, a big old map we'd order from U.S. Forest Service, and it would show us, the outlay of the land if we were going somewhere else to hunt and all. But now, with the situation with the internet, there's so many things you can do. I wrote down, you can get online and get on a state, get on some kind of forum for the area you're going to, like on fishing here. And when people come down to Panhandle, they get on St. Joe fishing, Panhandle surf fishing. There must be 8 or 9 I can think of for fishing. Well, each area has the same kind of hunting. In fact, there's Panhandle hunting here. So you get online and just join the conversation, and people are always asking for help. Where is this? How do you do this? And so that's on there. The DNR in each state has a website, so go to it. Also download these maps. We talk about Google Earth all the time. You can get Google Earth has a great setup as far as I'm concerned. That's all I need is Google Earth to talk. But there are other apps too. If you go into another area up in Alabama or out in Texas or somewhere, and it also, I thought this was good. Speak to the real people, the people that live out there. If you any way you get connected with them, I know Thomas Halls and a couple of guys actually hunt Kentucky and get some trophy bucks, but they're good friends with their neighbors. They know them, and I'll give you a tip that we've used for years. When you go up there, you take them a bag of oysters or some shrimp or something like that every trip, and that's where bonds the friendship even stronger. So those basic things right there, and get numerous apps, and also check the state record for where the big bucks are taken, like the Florida top 10. This past year, 4 out of 6 were taken in Calhoun County here in Florida. Ducks Unlimited. I used to love duck hunt. I don't do it much as I used to, but I just had a passion for it at one stage of my life. And the articles in here, I read them, and I agree with most of them. Some of them are just different. But a couple of articles, they talked about 5 different expert duck callers, but they were in different regions. Like one was in California. I didn't never think about the Pacific Flyway. Then a couple of Louisiana, and then over in the Atlantic coast, and they have different accents on their calls. And I never thought about it that way. I thought that was cool. And another article was on the early season. You want to set your spread different than you do in the middle of the season, like in December or January. You want to have a different spread set up because when they're flying in the first time as compared to being shot at 3 or 4 times. So that was interesting reading that one. And also there's another article on how to duck hunt in a drought. And guess what one of the clues was? Look for water, okay? So you want to look for a pocket of water. So that's Ducks Unlimited. It's a good magazine. These are 2 good magazines. This one speaks on a lot of conservation. It's the CCA, but it covers Texas, all along the Gulf Coast, and a lot of conservation. That's what I like about it, because they're trying to conserve as much as they can. There's some liberal stuff on here that's far-fetched, but in essence, the actual stuff they're trying to do is good in most places. But they were talking about, remember this past February, how that freeze hit Texas really hard, and it killed a bunch of fish. In fact, the estimate, I'd forgotten about it, the estimate is what the biologist said, that it actually killed about 3.9 million fish with that really hard freeze, and they washed up on shore. And if you remember, I showed you some pictures and all. And so they were talking about how it's making them come back, and what they did, they cut the limit down to speckled trout. They cut a size limit on flounder, and the latest they said it's making them come back. It's going to take 3 years, they think, to get back to normal. But this year, the first summer of actually conserving and getting a little bit tighter on regulations has helped them a lot. So that's interesting when a natural phenomena like that actually hits, and then how do you react to it. Also, there's another article in here on flounder, and basically they've done the same thing in Texas, North Carolina, and South Carolina is what the article is about. And if you remember, we've talked about really good floundering in the Carolina marsh area. I've known people who've been up there to do it. And they've had, this guy that's writing the article, he said back in the 80s and 90s, he would get 30 to 40 flounder per trip. And he was a commercial guy, he was a captain, and he was talking about how it just, dropped off, and we can imagine, and the different things they're doing. They actually have some hatcheries now that put a flounder back in the water in those areas, but they've really cut down on the limit. In fact, really made the season shorter, sort of like we have. They've done all these things too, and he said there's only one reason for that big decline, and it's simply just more people are going and taking them. It's as simple as that. There's no pollution or anything like that. So these are things the outdoorsmen, I thought that was a really good story too, okay? And I got one more. Let me go and finish. This gardening gun, this is different, but it's a really well-written, great pictures. If you ever did Southern Living, the pictures are same and all. But a couple of stories I had in here, and they do garden, a lot of cooking stuff in here and all. One of the stories was on fly fisherman dream vacation, where to go, and that was good. I enjoy going up with North Carolina with Bill Allen and his cousin, or his brother-in-law, and his cousins up there. We would meet him. Another story on dogs. Why have one dog when you can have 5? And that makes sense if you love dogs. Good story on how to cook ducks. How you get the breast out, how you really just clean, put a glaze on them and all that. I'm not a big cook on that kind of stuff, but good story on how to cook ducks. And one more, a story about a guy who was a fishing guide in the Everglades. So you see, all these magazines have good outdoor stories in them. If you're like me, you just got to find the time to read them, but we still have some great print magazines. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at our fishing game time today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. How about this morning from 7:58 to 9:58, and this evening from 8:20 to 10:20. Now remember, flounder season's over, okay? Don't be going flounder tonight, it's cold weather. We're talking about, I was saying about that principal, Wendy's principal up there in Tupelo Christian, how cool it is to have a principal who loves to hunt, fish, outdoor stuff like that. We used to joke as educators on every faculty and staff, you need to have some outdoors people. And we've always had that, not a large number, but we always had it. But the key to it, though, I've always said, in the administrative area, where all the principals, assistant principals, you need to have 1 or 2 outdoorsmen up there. So what do you think about the head principal being an outdoorsman like that, and a female hunter? That's really cool. I told Wendy she's blessed to be like that. And anyway, let's move on. I do have a couple more pictures to finish up that run I was on. I want to talk about hunting. How about old Fred Bear? Here's a picture of Fred way back in the day. This such good advice. It's so simple. Don't look for deer. Look for movement, and remember, it's what they're looking for too. So Fred Bear, and what I'm talking about, I've read his books and all, and back in those days, he was up there in Michigan. You imagine the size of the deer. In those days, they would do a lot of stalking. They would, they didn't, like we do now, we sort of ambush them. We just sit around and feed them and wait for them to come out. Those old timers like that would just shake their head at us. What are you doing? Yeah, but they did a lot of stalking, and we tried doing that and all, but it's just, they're too smart down here. Anyway, but that's what he was talking about. Okay, move a couple more pictures here. Talking about again on the redfish, Chuck Oliver on this real nice 30-inch one, just as the sun was setting a couple days ago. Hey, Coach, this is Eddie White. I caught these 68 big shell cracker last week in the Big River. Good job, Eddie. And Eddie again sent this. Also caught some mullet Saturday at the Hathaway Bridge in Panama City Beach. Okay, so good job, Eddie White. And thank all of y'all for sending those pictures in and different things like that. When you share with us and we share with y'all, it sort of makes this, I feel like we have a unique program, but when you're doing all kinds of stuff like this and we know what's going on in different places, a combination of what I get off social media and what you send me, we'll just keep up with what's going on, and whether it's good or bad. Like I said, this past week, the last couple of days, through the weekend, last couple of days, the red fishing has been really good, and the shell cracker's been good. Now I know we'll be doing a fishing report tomorrow, so I don't want to give anything away, but freshwater fishing it's going to warm up now. Friday and Saturday. Saturday's going to be back in the 80s, so the fish, people ask, what happens when the front comes through like this? Well, they really do shut down. They really do. They bite right before the front, but then when it's cold like this, they just sort of hunker down. And then as it starts warming back up, they're voracious feeders at that time, freshwater and saltwater. I know that. So this weekend is shaping up, especially Saturday. It looks like some really good time to get out and do some fishing. I think Bill Allen and Bill Shields from our Bill and Bill show, I think they're headed down to the houseboat and setting out some lines, and they've invited me to go. I've had previous commitments. You ever use that term? I have a previous commitment and won't be able to make it. So it's going to be a good time to be on the rivers. The sandbars are low. I mean, they're really exposed with the river being low. It's going to be a great weekend to go camping, and we won't have to worry about bugs or anything. So you just set out different things like that. I do want to show one more picture. We're talking about, I don't have time to get into it. What a blessing of goldenrod we've had. Have y'all seen goldenrod all over? And usually the goldenrod out of the wildflowers, the thing behind goldenrod, that's the last thing that blooms in the fall, the last wildflower. And right as it blooms, you know, winter is right around the corner. And nature, you know, you don't have to read about, you know, what's going on. Nature always does it that way. But a goldenrod bloom has been, I know a lot of people have allergies to it, but it's been really good. So now, nature gives its own signs of what kind of winter we have. And I looked up in the Farmer's Almanac, and I've got all kinds of stuff I share on another show, probably next week before I get back to it, on the different things that nature shows us where there's going to be a hard winter. So we may have a hard winter. Be a good weekend too to cut some firewood. So think about that. We're gonna wrap it up tomorrow. We'll do our fishing game forecast, be giving away some seafood from Tarpon Dock, and be wrapping up another week. You have a great day today. Do something good for someone else, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.